She is on that one. She is.
Linda?
Linda, you need to unmute yourself. Okay, she is here though.
Hang on.
Okay, we'll just keep going.
Yeah, Lynn's there though.
Okay, Nancy?
Yes.
Joanne? Yes. Travis?
Yes.
And Denise, yes.
Lynn, did you hear that? Lynn Manley?
No, but I'll say yes.
Okay, sounds good. I think we talked to her when she
And did we decide Linda is on it, or?
I am not seeing Linda, but I will text her to see. Oh, she said, is there sound yet? I can't hear anything.
Okay.
All right, so there's sound. The land of technology. Is there a speaker and
Well, let's
video?
just keep on
Yeah.
moving. And,
Lucas? Hello.
hello. Would you like to, are you here to present something?
So,
Or are you here, or do you want to talk about?
we're here to actually thank Lucas because he did a phenomenal thing and gathered, how many?
I think we're at like probably 2,200 or 2,300.
Yeah, masks, so that all of our kids who may not have had them, adults actually, there's a lot of different sizes and stuff going on. But if you don't mind, let's just kind of explain why you just chose to do this for us.
Sure. So I'm a senior in the National Honor Society, and so we have to do a community service project to get a sash at graduation. So I decided that I wanted to do masks for my community service project because I thought that was an important thing that's happening in the current event. So me and my mom had already made some masks for the shipyard for some of our friends. So it was a skill that I had, and me and her worked together. And we made 200 masks about before.
Yeah, that's what you started out originally with 200.
Yeah, so then we had. Yes. Yeah. So we got 200 masks, then we had Kathy Sheedy reach out to us and actually asked us to make masks for the district. And plus there's about 3,000 students in the district, so we ended up saying yes to that because that was a great project that was really helpful to do for the district. And so we couldn't make 3,000 masks on our own, so we made a flyer to reach out to the community, and so we got a ton of help from the MSAD 60 community. And I collected the masks and was running drop-offs to the office over there. And so I got a ton of help from Kathy Sheedy as far as guiding me and what I'm supposed to do. So she's definitely been an invaluable resource. And then I also got a lot of help from Sue Austin and helped me just navigate this whole process.
Yeah, he did a great job just getting them, something to every single school. There was enough for anybody that needed it right off the bat. I actually saw Kathy tonight, and she, over on the table, there's about 30 masks that if anybody wants to take a couple, go for it. There's some Patriots ones. I'm not sure we want to wear Patriots masks right now, but you could save them for the
Maybe they're
future.
reversible.
But yeah, and I wanted to get Lucas in here actually closer to like early September, October. It's just been so crazy, but we just appreciate it so much, the work that he did.
So I did read about what you were doing as it was going on. Did you have to figure out like different size? Like, did you have to figure out we need so many for little people and
Yes.
so many for big people? Like, how did you figure all that out?
Yeah, so that was definitely where Kathy was very helpful. She had a breakdown of the different students in each grade. And then there were some published guidelines for about how old you would be and how big your mask would be. So we kind of figured out how old people would be in each grade. And then we made the corresponding size for that. So we have like 600 medium, and that's dispersed among different schools for different grades. So
Amazing. How many different volunteers do you think you coordinated?
I have a pretty big spreadsheet. I'd say at least probably 20 people.
I think so. I mean, he had people that donated fabric, people that donated money to buy elastic.
Yeah, it wasn't just masks. There's all sorts of different ways people helped us out.
And then people who donated to make masks. So there was a line of everything.
I've
gone there,
yeah.
Yeah. And it was nice too because he got people from all 3 towns And all the different ways that he had reached out, and got people from all 3 different towns that reached out to help him out. He actually even got, I don't know if anything ever came of it, but there was a alumni from, from here.
I think his name was Richard, maybe?
Uh,
Yeah. But, we had an alumni that reached out to us, and he asked to donate some masks. That hasn't come substantiated to anything yet, but it's still very nice of him to offer.
Yeah, he's like in Nashville or something now, somehow he heard about it.
That's awesome.
Well, it was fun to kind of read about it as it was going along and thought it was successful.
Yeah.
That was it, Lucas. We just wanted to say thank you.
Very project.
Yeah, totally is. Yep. All right. And if you need anything like for National Honor Society, whatever it is, just let me know.
Yeah.
We'll take care of it. Is that somebody asking to get in? That would be, I think, Miss Stephanie. Linda can hear now, so if you want to ask her about the minutes of the meeting, you can do that, and she was here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Linda, did you hear when we took a roll call for the minutes?
I did not hear, but yes, I did review the minutes.
Okay.
So are you a yay?
Yes, I'm a yay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the MOU?
Okay. So we have Jamie on the line as well, but just kind of giving you a little history about the MOU. So the Memorandum of Understanding is COVID specific for our Teachers Association. And we've been working on this probably, Jamie, correct me if I'm wrong, like on and off since August. We've really tried to hone in on just a few really big salient pieces for our staff mostly around safety and around leave if something comes up as far as if they had to quarantine or if they have symptoms. Also, what kind of equipment we can provide for our staff to be successful remotely, and then PPE.
So we had, I think, yeah, you guys should have it. We shared it this afternoon. And, originally the MEA has actually asked for the MOU throughout the state. And every single, somebody's got something on in the background. Every single district is doing it a little differently. We were able to, it was like 128 items. We honed it down to just what's in front of you, with totally in collaboration with our teachers union. So it felt pretty good.
Yeah. Jamie, do you want to add anything to that?
No, I think Audra, you said it very well, and so did Sue. We've been working on this collaboratively with Chuck Bragdon and Brenna Whitney. Chuck is our chief negotiator, and Brenna Whitney, our vice president, since right around August. And again, we came back from our summer information from the MEA with 170 odd points to talk about or something like that, and we got it down to 7, very COVID specific, and it's we're very happy with it. And as Audra said, it's very specific to COVID. And as long as the board approves that, we'll take that to our members. And we don't anticipate any kind of pushback or anything. We expect that to go through quite nicely this week. And it will be an amendment to our contract as it stands right now.
So an MOU is a legal document?
I'm sorry.
An MOU it's a legal addendum.
It is a legal addendum, yeah. Memorandum of Understanding, it is through August of 21, so it's not an ongoing thing. I did, I already texted.
Okay.
We're talking. We're trying to figure out the feedback.
We're getting feedback.
We're hearing ourselves.
Do you need us to, what do you need us to do at this point? To make a motion to adopt it or just reviewing it? We do.
Yeah, that's what we're looking for. Is anybody actually on the live stream right now or in the room? Okay.
I'm looking at your emails.
Yeah, that's fine. I just, I'm trying to figure out where the feedback is coming from. I think it may be actually,
We,
Is there somebody that's not muted?
yeah, is everybody muted on?
yeah. I don't know. All you lovelies at home, yeah, go ahead and mute.
Okay,
Test, test.
yep, I think that's it.
That's it? No. Oh, dear. Chris says I can't hear it.
Okay, that's good.
That's okay. We can survive, right? It's not that bad.
I'll make a motion to accept the MOU.
I'll second it. Any questions or discussion?
So I just have a question, sorry that's in here, but what, the Family First COVID Response Act, how many days of sick leave can they use from that? Or is that not what it's for?
So it's typically 10 days. 10 days, because it's 2 weeks, basically, so it's 10 days. And it doesn't have to be all at once, but typically it would be, if it's a 2-week time frame where people are quarantined, that's typically how it works.
Is that a one time?
It is not a one-time, it is a
Okay.
per COVID incident.
Oh,
One quick thing with that, I had heard at the conference, they said that that's good for 2020, but it might not be for 2021. And they had nothing further to say on that, but just a heads up that that's what they told us anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Yep, thank you.
No problem.
She's talking about the Family Leave Act.
Yeah, right.
It's like our MOU goes until August of 21.
So if we found out that ended, would we need to amend this again?
I think we would have to revisit it, right, if it's, because this is based on the current legislation,
Right. Yep.
and we would probably need to, if things change, we would need to revisit that.
Yep.
I think that is something that the Teachers Association would agree to.
Yeah, absolutely. If it comes out, after the end of the year that needs to be switched, or if that is changed in any way, we'll just come back to the table. And I don't foresee that being any kind of an issue. We'll just adjust as we need to.
So, upon request, okay. So I'm just looking at number 7, and then so this agreement is between the board and the association. So number 7, just that we're gonna meet monthly, it's really just if one of the two parties wants to sit, okay.
And we meet monthly anyways, the administration of the teachers union meets monthly.
Any other questions or discussion? All right, we'll do a vote. Estrida?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Stephanie?
You have to.
Stephanie?
She looks frozen.
Uh-oh.
We'll come back to her. Nancy? Yep. Joanne?
yes.
Travis?
Yes.
And me, yes.
You have Rebecca's in there.
Rebecca's there?
Yeah, I think so.
Rebecca? Do you see her?
I can see her name. Oh,
Rebecca? Stephanie? We keep switching back and forth.
I know, we can see it. They're trying. Do you see Rebecca Hopper's name there?
I did. Let's see. Yep, yes.
And I can see her as well.
Okay.
Maybe she can give you a thumbs up, Estrida, and let us know.
Can you hear me?
There you are.
Who was that?
That's Rebecca.
Rebecca? Okay,
Sorry,
so-
I had to use a different computer because my Chromebook battery is dead, and I
All right. And
connected in the wrong sort of way, so.
That's okay.
You get her answer.
Okay.
Yeah, are you in favor of the MOU?
What was that? I didn't catch that.
Are you in favor of the memorandum of understanding? Did you hear that conversation?
No, I was switching over.
Oh, okay.
I missed that whole thing. If you guys want to vote without me, go ahead.
We can put her in as an abstain.
Okay, you can abstain, or also it was emailed, so I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but if you haven't, maybe an abstention probably makes sense. And then, did we get Stephanie back?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I've had horrible connection issues tonight. I had a hard time even getting into the meeting, so it just disconnected me again. Hopefully I can stay in for the rest.
The name keeps changing at the bottom now it's back.
Okay. So Stephanie, are you able to vote on accepting the MOU?
Oh, yes, I did look at it beforehand. Yes for the vote.
Okay. So I think that's everyone except for Rebecca?
Yes, and we'll do her as an abstention.
Okay.
Okay, perfect.
Snow days.
Snow day.
Thank you, everybody, so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. Thank you for working with us.
Absolutely, ditto. Thank you so much for working with us.
Sure. So snow days, if we are able to provide a meal, we can have a inclement weather day be a remote day and count it as a student day. So we did a little checking with our staff because we were gung-ho about, okay, we're going to have all remote learnings, inclement weather days. But we got this one kind of email that gave us pause about our students and children have missed so much since March that the joy of a snow day, a traditional snow day, will be taken away from them as well if we just go full remote immediately. So we surveyed the staff and we had 3 options for them to get their feedback. And one was get rid of all snow days and have them all remote. The other option was to keep 2 snow days, traditional snow days, to allow that snow day experience.
The magic of Christmas.
Yeah,
turning your PJs inside out the night before, and all that stuff.
Allowing
Staying up
to get up at 3
Yes.
o'clock in the morning and talk to the weather.
That's
Exactly, yeah, it's what,
Exactly.
yeah, it's good.
And then keep them all, like keep everything as traditional snow days. Very neck and neck. We provided the survey on Friday. We had it stop on Monday. So 41.6% of the staff feel really good about keeping 2 snow days, traditional snow days, and then calling the rest remote. And then 41.1, that's how close we
It was like
are.
41.1. What was the other one?
41.6 said just get rid of the snow days. So we are keeping 2. We had 17%. Yeah.
wanted them, so
Yeah.
we're like, well, we can combine
Yeah.
this.
So we're going to keep the first 2 snow days to allow that experience.
Can you use them on days where there's like a serious dumping of snow so that kids can like really go
Right.
play in it?
Well, you've got to kind of decide that.
We do. Thank you, Denise, for trying to make things last more challenging than they need to be. But I think we're gonna go with the first 2.
Right. Abby Pelletier, who is our school nutrition director, has worked really creatively to come up with a plan we're going to kind of front load the food, the lunches for the snow days. So what we're going to do tomorrow is send out just a letter from the office, just kind of explaining this process. And that Abby will then send out a registration form for families to sign up for food for the snow days. And it will be like an emergency pack, like, yes.
Yeah.
So we're going to send 3 home for those families that register. So that's for 3 days, 3 snow days. And then we'll replenish as we
And do
come.
those get sent home ahead of time?
Yes, they're shelf stable.
That's cool.
Yes, so, yeah. So that's what we are thinking of. And we typically run about 7 or 8 snow days, 6, 7, 8, but the last couple of years have been closer to 8. So this feels like we'll be, getting 5, likely 5 really good remote days in for our students, but also hopefully those first 2 will be full of snow and snowmen and.
But it also helps us really pinpoint the last day of school.
Mhm.
So 2 snow days, 2 snow days will put us in a certain time frame and people can count on being done by.
Does this have to be approved by the state?
Nope, it is actually, they've been through the whole process and
Okay.
they've got, as long as we can provide the food, then it's a doable thing.
Great.
Yeah, so here we go.
Here we go.
It's the new regime, right?
It's always difficult to know if you're gonna have power.
That's a good point, Joanne. What we're
Yeah,
also,
so
we will
if
send
have a
home,
remote day, but we don't have power.
we're going to send home some student materials
Yeah.
as well. So if there is an outage in Lebanon, they'll just open their packs
Yeah,
and do
yeah.
some of that work.
I think we probably lose power more than.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, you
Lots
did
of
this
internet,
one.
right?
Just this one.
You're out in the
Good chance
way.
of losing power, if not just internet access
Yeah.
for any snow days, and then now,
Yeah.
we've already used up our 2 snow days. Is that gonna affect, we still have to, you still have to remote data the amount of students to make that meet a school day?
Not if we have students able to show the work that they did on those off days. So, and teachers will be able to do that. I mean, they'll be able to just document that so many students were able to complete their storage stuff. So it's a little complicated, but I think with time it'll work out pretty well. And it's basically, I hate to say this out loud to everybody, but it's 50% plus 1 student being present and accounted for in order for us to count it as a regular school day. So even if Leb's really in trouble, if Berwick and Northbrook are okay, we won't have to scramble to everybody's house to make sure that they're getting their work done. But the teachers will be checking into that stuff anyways.
Right, and it's good practice for moving ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Any little silver lining?
We did get we got some really good feedback from staff about thank you for letting us, weigh in on this discussion, and so it was a good thing, yeah.
Okay.
All right, updates.
Sure. So we'll start with educational programming. Just wanted to let everybody know we finished taking the STAR assessment. That's typically 2nd grade to 10th grade. We do a few times a year. All of our remote and our hybrid students took that, and we are awaiting the results right now. So that was done. We had to give that a lot of thought about how to do that remotely, and it worked, and so that was good, and just kind of track through the year and see how that continues remotely. Let's see. We are preparing our November newsletter. We sent out an October district newsletter. Prior to that, we sent a lot of the information about the fall planning, so we didn't send out newsletters per se, because that was just a lot of overload of information. So the November newsletter is going to be focusing on literacy K-12. So we are compiling some photos from different grade levels, and we have some of our literacy coaches across the district and our curriculum teaching and learning. Shannon Swiger working on some of that to provide for families. And then just wanted to share this distance learning playbook. And this book, I'll hold it this way, but this book we purchased with some of our CRF funds, our grant money, and all teaching staff and educational technicians received a copy of this. And it really is about best practices in distance learning. And it talks a lot about in this book about how, when we were in March, it was more crisis mode, but this is really thoughtful planning about how to deliver really high-level instruction, how to keep students engaged, and just, how you can frame your lessons. We've done a lot of skillful teacher work. I don't know if there's been a lot of discussion about that in the past or not, but this book ties really nicely into all the skillful teacher work that we've been doing as far as lesson planning and clarity of lessons and expectations. The nice thing about this book is that they also have one for administrators. So we got this book, the administrative one, for our administrative team. So we're going to be working through that as soon as it comes in, as far as our own professional development. So those are the educational updates. I'll move right into school nutrition. So let's see. I'm going to go through. Let's see. We've got a couple papers here. Okay. So just a summary. Now that we've had October, we have some information about the services we've provided as far as breakfast and lunches. So in October, we had weekly meals were $2,300 for breakfast, and then the lunches were $4,800 per week. So that's about 967 lunches daily that we've had through school nutrition. About 310 students are receiving remote meals weekly, and the amount that they receive varies depending on how much they're in school and how much they're remote.
Sorry, what was that number?
310. So free and reduced numbers are, right now, for October 31st, our free and reduced numbers were at, 25%. Last year in October, we were at 27%. And that we've dropped, but we were expecting a drop because right now we are, the meals are, we're not charging, the fee piece is not there. We have not gone down like some of the other districts. Abby had pointed out that some of the other districts have dropped significantly, and we have not at that point. So that's school nutrition. Transportation update. Let's see. Our bus referrals are lower this time of year than they were last. And our wait list currently has no students. And a new student, like a student that is asking to ride the bus, or a student that's new to our district, has a seat within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
So that's really great. Our drivers are healthy. There's a few that have been out for surgery, planned surgery, but we're able to cover that at this point in time. With the increase of athletics, we're still able to cover some of those additional runs that have happened for that.
And we're doing some additional
We are
runs?
doing some additional runs for that, yes. Kindergarten through 7th grade buses are more filled right now than the high school runs, but they're still able to work it through. So that's that piece. And now, attendance. Let's see. So,
Athletics?
athletics, thanks. We'll start with athletics. Okay. Approximately 220 students are participating in fall sports. And we are primarily having games with those that are very local to us, those school districts that are local. Each team is going to have an opportunity to play under the lights, and games are live streamed. Let's see, our football team is 1-0. Our girls soccer is currently 3-0. Our boys soccer is 0-2. We have a cross-country student, athlete, who has qualified for states, and that's Maddox Johnson. And
States? I didn't think there were going to be any.
They're doing something.
Yes.
I think
Yes.
particularly for cross-country.
Right.
Cross-country, they can do it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Field hockey tied their first game, and they were playing again tonight. And our golf have had a few exhibitions, our golf team, but Aaron said they're looking really good, but their season had pretty much come to a close as we were able to open, so that it wasn't as fruitful as some of the other teams as far as that goes.
I'm sure the kids were grateful for whatever games they were able to get in.
Yes, yes. They were.
And we just found out today, I understood it must be statewide, that now all athletes are masked all the time. Games, doesn't matter, masked all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And have we heard anything, I heard that winter sports were pushed back. I assume they're not gonna happen.
We just, when we talked with Aaron earlier this week, we did hear that it's going to be exactly what you said. It keeps getting pushed out a little bit, and we don't have any further information, but just thinking about some of those sports. those like wrestling and such. So we are waiting to hear what happens with that. So. Okay, so then attendance. So this is just a summary. Our lowest percentage of attendance was 91%. So when you look at all the numbers for the week across the district, 91%, one school, one day had 91% attendance. Our highest number was 99%. Our average at all schools, our average is running 97 to 98%. So that's.
And that's what time period?
That's just right this week. We're trying to look at it week by week at this point. So for staff, we've had several days this week when all staff have been present, and the highest number of staff out has been 4. And that's happened a couple of times here at the high school and at the middle school. Some of it is maternity leaves, some of it is surgery, some of it is quarantine. Right, some of them are quarantined because of a case at one of the schools. So that's that. I'm trying to see. Okay.
I have a question that I don't know if this falls under this
Sure.
or another category, but do we, are we fully staffed? Do we have any open positions still? Were we able to kind of find?
We had a math lab position that was just filled this week.
Okay.
And that is it. I think we have I think we've got some positions, some custodial positions still advertised. I think we're always looking to recruit bus drivers.
Yeah.
And
we need subs.
Yeah.
We have very.
And nursing subs.
Yeah, very little sub list.
But even with the custodial vacancy, we do have applicants that are very viable. So, yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Can you update us on the COVID cases?
Sure, I have that other superintendent's report.
Okay, perfect, never mind.
Okay. All right.
Enrollment, I think, is next.
So enrollment, we have elementary, we have about 1,200 students, 1,264. The middle school's at 479, and the high school is running about 1,200 as well, but they have remote students that we're still waiting on finding out the numbers of just recently.
Great. Okay. All right. Any other questions for Audra or any of that, or we good to move on? Okay. So Stephanie and I were able to participate in the main school board conference. And I'll kind of give my highlights and maybe see what Stephanie wants to add. My experience is that the keynote speaker is always dynamite, and this was no different. He was Judge John Broderick, who was the Chief Justice of the New Hampshire Supreme Court, had a really interesting career. I believe he lived in Manchester and Nashua. And he told his very moving story about what it was like to grow up as a baby boomer and not understand the signs of mental health, as one of his sons started to experience this when he was around 13. And so it was just a very moving kind of presentation from a parent standpoint, and a lot of it was really, I would think a lot of people could relate to it, and just him talking about sort of growing up in the, in a place where you're not encouraged to talk about it, you're not encouraged to see the signs, it's a sign of weakness, so that was his generation, and then how that kind of contributed, and his lack of understanding contributed to not seeing these signs. anyway, it was his whole story, which he does speak a lot. I would love to see, he basically said he will speak anywhere and everywhere. And he's obviously doing it remotely now, but I'd love to see if this is something that we could, somehow incorporate in either for the faculty or students as well. But after his kind of whole journey, what he is doing now is really talking about just 5 basic signs. So his point now is to kind of say, if he only knew, you don't have to be an expert, if you just kind of know these 5 basic signs, then you can at least take the first step in getting somebody help. And so he speaks a lot to schools, both students and teachers, administration, again, anyone and everyone. And it was, I thought it was a little bit of a different, it was, I think, something that kids and parents could probably relate to. He wasn't a mental health professional telling us all what we need to know. He was just a parent telling his story. So that was, I thought, really interesting. The format, all virtual, was successful, in my opinion. They used a platform where they had the agenda, they had comments, they had the different sessions, so it actually worked really well, with the exception of the delegate assembly, which was horrific, and it went 6.5 hours, and 2 of those hours were trying to get, it went something like this. Could you unmute yourself? I think you're muted. You need to unmute yourself. Please mute yourself, unmute yourself, mute yourself. And then somebody made a motion, and I'm not kidding, it took an hour to undo that motion because it was not really correct, and it was 150 people not muting them. It was actually a disaster. But that aside, it was kind of it made me think about, like, when we're talking about the kids and how everything is going well with the learning, but with the technology, it's not that the technology is bad, it's that we got thrown into figuring it out. Yeah. And that was really all that happened. So other sessions that Stephanie and I kind of went over the list and tried to do a little bit of divide and conquer. So the ones that I sat in on, that I did a few that were fine. The ones that kind of stood out, there was one on racism, which was really interesting. A lot of conversation. They had a couple of students and different people, sort of panelists, and then a lot of conversation, and a lot of it was around how do you deal with this in a state that seems to lack diversity of color, but still obviously has diversity in general. So the kind of the takeaways that I noted was, the most important things to find success were to make sure that the administration and the school board are on board, to commit to it as a district, to commit to it as not being a political issue, which was really important. And then ultimately to take a look at curriculum and so don't make it a social issue, really look at it as a learning issue. So those were kind of the 3 pieces that I heard as being, if you look at those are sort of the ways to make it most successful. Really interesting session on special ed compliance, and it wasn't like a list of here's how to be compliant. It was some of the things that are coming up. What they found was in the first 6 months of COVID, that they were expecting there to be all sorts of lawsuits, and there were very, very few, if any. And they chalked that up to districts being communicating as much as possible. So they are kind of saying that, like, the more you can communicate, the better off we'll all be. A lot of the language that they were using was very technical and it was not all stuff I was familiar with, but one of the things that they spent quite a lot of time on was that we may end up with a new definition of free and accessible public education after all of this is over. Because it's not, if you have 4 days in school is your percentage of time still, like what is 100%, so there was just a lot of legal, they spent a lot of time talking about things that may end up changing, and how do we change them for the better of the kids. Like, these things are going to change. So what do we do with that? And, are there going to be, they do expect there to be some kind of more legal things coming up. Just like what does an IEP look like when it's fully remote, fully in person, or a hybrid? Like there were a lot of really, and then the other thing that was interesting is that there is something called an individualized remote learning plan, which I don't know if that's already like a legal thing or if they're saying that will be, but they were saying that it's, the federal law has not changed to include to be whatever. There's no federal law kind of implementing that or protecting it, but they think that that's probably something that will be coming down the road. So schools should be thinking about what that might look like. So what does it look like if your student is fully remote? There was a lot of other stuff in that, but one other thing that I thought was interesting is that for kids that have trouble with wearing a mask, that they feel like that's something that can actually be included in an IEP, is like, let's work on that. That's a life skill, and so I thought there were a lot of really interesting ideas, the basic understanding that it's going to look different down the road, and it's sort of a combination of figuring it out and also waiting to see what happens legally. And then I sat in on another one that was about school funding because I really felt like there was a lot I needed to still understand, and I don't know that I really got a lot out of it, but it was maybe I should ask for the PowerPoint. I don't know. It was good, but it was.
I think you can download most of that.
Yeah, I know.
I pulled a few things.
And then I did want to just, I know I sent I already sent the board the resolutions that we went over for an eternity. But they were all accepted, and so there were 4 resolutions, and the resolutions basically steer the main school board association and kind of where they're putting their efforts for the next year. So they're not binding resolutions, they're just, they're directional. So one of them was the development of a distance learning plan. So which obviously we're all already doing that, but, and I'll send this out to everybody, but they're basically saying that all school boards really need to make this a priority, and there's, language in there about equitable learning and professional development for teachers, some other things. They felt that there was a need for, so one of the resolutions is building stronger family support for education. So this was more of a philosophical resolution, but I thought it was really interesting. So it was acknowledging that, really kids are going to be successful when they do have that support, but also how do you engage the families in that supportive way. Equity in education, including, religion, disability. There's a lot of conversation about age, because they wanted to make sure that Adult ed was included in this, economic status. And then the last one was board meeting remote participation. So there was a mix of feedback on that. Everybody agreed that having remote access or streaming access had, it had increased the ability for the community to be able to either participate or at least watch. So everyone felt that that was a good thing. There was kind of, again, mixed reviews of technology. I think there was some concern about losing the face-to-face time, the sitting around the tables and having that discussion. So, that's something that kind of people need to figure out. But I'll share these final resolutions with everyone.
Okay, thank you.
But that was, the one I'm going to send is the language that, they were all accepted, but there was some language that was changed. So those were my highlights. Stephanie, did you have any highlights from your sessions?
Not highlights so much as pages and pages and pages. Being the newbie, it's like everything was new and great information to me. I made the mistake of it came in this order. The advanced collective bargaining came first. And I was a little lost, but I got some good notes out of it. The highlight that, there was like a ton of stuff that I thought, oh my gosh, I don't really know about a lot of this, but I noted it. The highlights I had were just things that they said were different this year. And they said for evaluations, for teachers, the probation is now 2 years. It used to be 3 years. They said that was something that was changing. Rehired retirees, they take the 3 highest paid years for their salary and they took the cap off of that. And that way people could receive additional compensation for their benefits. So that was, I would say that was some of the things I thought might be important to pass on. A lot of the stuff with the staff member leave came up. They just said that if the school decides to go beyond the FFCRA leave, to be careful about language with that and how you define that. Specifically, they made a note, and I thought this was interesting, and it makes sense, but you don't think about it until it's brought up. But basically, letting someone use that leave, and then the district, giving them compensation leave as well, but having restrictions with it. In other words, they can't have that leave and then leave the state was one of the things that they said should be in there, because otherwise it encourages bad behavior and I guess can cause a lot of problems. So that was kind of an important thing I thought to pass on from one of them. I also did the special ed one a little bit later, and same as you, Denise, I had like so many notes and a lot of things I thought were important in this. We've already covered that, they were looking at it as being, I guess, a little bit more flexible, but basically as of September, not as flexible. And even in remote mode, we just have to be careful legally, because if the building's open and even if people aren't in there at all times and we're able to give full schooling to students, it's got to be across the board for everybody, and basically just, compensating if things are missed. And it was noted that some other schools are using what they call flex days when other students aren't in, to be bringing in, special ed students for the extra time. The IRLP, you already brought up how they're talking about that, where it doesn't change the requirements, but it is a good thing to have, basically. And let's see, skip ahead. I have so much from that one course. I have like so many pages on it, but trying to get to the important stuff. Yeah, okay, comp ed flex. See, it just goes into so many details. I'm just trying to get the fine ones here. Oh, just if there is some sort of discussion between the parents in the school because of all of this and having a different schedule. It is better if it can be written down. If we are able to do this for the student, X, Y, and Z, then the family feels that it's okay. They said to try to document that and have the parents sign something saying that will meet the expectations that they have. And just the thing with the masks, putting that into the IEP and not necessarily going by the doctor's note. They say in many cases, the doctor doesn't see the child as much as the teachers do on a daily basis, as their specialists do on a daily basis. So they say if a doctor's saying, they don't have to wear a mask, we want to try to accommodate with doing the shield, but before going to other measures to check with their specialists. They basically said to bring the full team in, the behavioralist, everybody like that, and just see what they think, where they're working more one-on-one, and that it's okay for the school not necessarily follow that doctor's note. And they gave some other options too of having the student be in a private room, but we have to be careful of excluding them. So in that case, they said you could have one of those.
Stephanie, can you hear us?
And
Can we check?
Steph, you're breaking up.
The teacher,
This just goes to the
but
point,
they
teachers have such.
need to be.
Just thinking the same.
This happens to the kids every day with the teachers.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the-
In the case.
Okay.
Not wearing a mask or face.
Hey, Stephanie, can you hear us? Stephanie? Can you send a message?
I can, I don't actually think I have Steph's number, so,
Sounded like she's got a connection problem.
yeah, I think it is. And Chris said you can mute her from the touchscreen.
Yeah.
I'll text her.
Yeah, text her, because I don't think I have Steph's number.
I have her number.
Okay. Somebody, just let her know that we're not trying to ignore her, but it's that she's cleared out. What do you think? Do you want to move on to the next piece of it? Okay.
Yeah.
I have connection issues, and I feel like I was other on the phone. Sometimes we lose each other, and I just keep talking. So I'll cut chase. That special ed one, like I said, was really interesting, and just things that we need to be aware of. Another one was the First Amendment. Oh, sorry, what?
No, that's good. You're good.
Oh, okay. Another one was the First Amendment challenges for schools, and wow, I did not realize there could be so many, but then, once you hear all the cases, I was kind of floored with a lot of things that people actually went to court about. And there's a lot of things that were just generally interesting, but overall, knowing that the school financial disruption, and it can be reasonable to do that. And just one of the things that I guess they kept bringing up, I guess the cycle, a thing that was brought up many times was the Confederate flag and Black Lives Matter and what to do with all of this. And there was one teacher that was not renewed, didn't have the contract renewed at the school because they had written something on their social media page about Black Lives Matters being a cult, and they kind of went on into things about that. And with the contract not being renewed, the coach sued, and the court stuck by the school, basically saying that it was a tricky line, but it was very disruptive, because how would students who felt in either case be able to be underneath the swim coach and all the bias that's involved? So it's just a tricky line, I guess. But basically the schools do have the right to monitor more than I thought they did. So that was interesting. Let's see. Oh yeah, in Maine, there was actually, they had a district that was dealing with, election things. And basically they said if anyone, employees, are bringing their jobs into it at all and referencing their work and things that they are doing that directly tie to their job, they are not protected by the First Amendment. If it has to do with anything else, they are, because social media and the pages and things that people put out there. And I wasn't sure about that. So that was kind of a good thing to learn. Let's see, that one was interesting, but I didn't have as much for highlights. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, I've learned a lot from all the different courses, and actually they extended the date so we can still do some of the sessions after. I plan to do some more this week if I find anything interesting. Maybe I'll put an email out, but overall, lots of interesting things.
Thank you.
Yeah, well,
Excuse me.
There were not, I was surprised in the years past, there's always been sessions on like improving being a board member. There's usually been a couple to choose from, and I think they're always interesting. And I thought there would be one for like being a board member
In the pandemic.
virtually during the pandemic, and there was actually nothing. There was not a single session
That's interesting.
about being a board member at all. So I thought that was, I mean, there was plenty of other good stuff. I was assuming there would be something about sort of, how do you do this during remotely or whatever, but yeah, there was nothing, but it was good overall. It was,
So you
it's always good.
said it was 150 at the delegate.
Yes.
Is that higher?
Initially at 9:30, there were fewer,
Okay. Was that a typical number? Because
yeah, I would say last year, it was a good sized room that was fullish, and you could go as an alternate and listen. I don't know why on earth somebody would do that if they weren't voting, but it's a lot of, and no disrespect, but there's a lot of like former school teachers who are going to edit these things to smithereens, and so you spend a half an hour on whether or not there should be a comment in there.
Yeah.
Which there was a little bit less of that this time, and it was more just like, honestly, it was a lot of like the structure of a meeting, but virtual. And could we do a show of hands? No, not when there's pages and pages of Zoom faces. Or in this particular thing, somebody kept saying, move the question, which I wasn't even really that familiar with, but it's a way to shut down discussion. And then they would have to have a poll, and so Steve would take him a little bit of time he'd have to create the poll on the fly, pop it in then you need, is it 2/3 for this one or 50% for this one?
Yeah.
So it's just a lot of like logistic stuff, but yeah, I would say the number of people, do you guys know how many districts there are? Or boards?
Oh, gosh, I mean.
Is it like 140? Does
Yeah,
that sound right?
it's
So it's
pretty
something
high,
like 140 different districts.
Right.
So you're supposed to have someone from each of them. And then there were people who could listen but not be voting. And, there was really interesting discussion, honestly, like around some of these issues and.
174 school districts.
174?
Yep.
That's a lot, yeah. The discussion was interesting for sure. It made it more difficult being virtual in an extreme way.
Yeah, makes sense.
But not done.
All right, good.
I had two more things, just, I noticed, we have a safety officer where if a teacher doesn't feel safe for a reason that they can report to.
Like a harassment officer?
Well, they noted it as safety officer, but I get, in other words, a student has done something dangerous to make the teacher feel in a bad situation. Is there anyone that
There's
they
a
can go
process
to?
for it. Yeah, there's a process for it. I'm the actual harassment officer for the district, and then, but typically, there's you go to your immediate supervisor, and then they'll come to me if they need to, if it needs to go bigger. If it's actually not student related and it might be staff to staff, typically they'll just come directly to me.
Okay, thanks. And then one other thing was, do we have a policy for our virtual board meetings?
So no, because we've not, this is all.
Okay, that was one suggestion. They said in the days of COVID, pretty much a lot of districts are doing this. And they say it's okay because of COVID now. But at some point, we might want to make a policy for it. And then they also said, if we ever, get out of this hole of COVID, have a general policy in place because they see other districts have been trying to move that way anyway for virtual. And they were just recommending it for one of the new policies. And also,
Committee is Estrida and Stephanie, isn't it?
Yeah, I
Right?
also think that this would be.
we can work on that, but I needed to know. And then Estrida, I guess this is for us. We should try to avoid words like shall, duty, or district's duty in certain types of policies, just because of legal reasons and how they can hold it in wording. Oh, there. Sorry, I lost you guys again.
No, you're there.
Yeah,
In the past, the law office that the district works with has vetted
Okay, hold
some
on
of
a
the
second.
policy things. We might fine tune a little, but they've done the first stab and they're very good at the kind of language that gets us in danger or not.
Oh, that's good.
Good to bear in mind.
Okay.
All right, so Denise was gonna
Well, I just
share.
think, I think that the Maine School Board Association might, because of one of the resolutions that we passed was about remote board meetings. They may end up, I don't know if they're drafting some policy
Yep.
guidance, so
Yep, for sure.
it's worth checking with them.
You got it. Okay,
All right. Employment?
you got it.
Okay, we have a resignation. Melissa Ortiz, who is an occupational therapist, mostly at the middle school. She's been here 21 years, began her career here.
Yeah. I actually went through the K-12 system here.
Wow.
So she has a family commitment that she needs to attend to. So we have her resignation. So again, Melissa Ortiz.
I'll make the motion to accept the resignation.
I'll second.
All right. Rebecca?
Yes.
Estrida?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Lynn?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Nancy? Yes. Joanne?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes.
And me, yes.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And that position has been posted and interviewed
for it, yeah.
and checking references
Yeah.
at this point in time.
All right, superintendent's report.
Just wanted to give a few updates on our cases that we've had. We've had in total 8 cases. And one of them we count as 8, but did not impact the school at all, any school or any department. So we've really had 7 that we've needed to respond to. And so a couple of things that just to highlight for me is that we have a lot, it feels like, that happen over the weekends. Like some cases, the CDC will get in touch with families Sunday and we'll have to respond. What I will say is, in every case that we've had to go through, it's been so impressive to see the amount of high organization that the building nurse and the building administration has had, whether that be, you know, like classrooms have sign-in sheets for anybody that goes in and out of a room, so that if we have to pull that and use that for the CDC for contact tracing, everybody's done a great job with that. We have seating arrangements in the cafeteria that have really helped us be able to say, these aren't close contacts, these, you know, the duty teachers aren't, or, you know, the classroom teacher is, or, you know, this staff member is, or this staff member isn't. So it's been really, every time we've sat in with the, you know, the school admin and the school nurse, as well as Amy Crichton, the head nurse for the district, it's just been, it's like so smooth.
Yeah.
And sometimes it, especially I think in the beginning, we were a little somewhat frustrated with the timing. It took a little longer for the CDC to get in touch with us than we had hoped, but we have our process down by following the standard operating procedure. And just having gone through this 7 times, it's very smooth. And, you know, we've even had the CDC say to us, you're really like right on it. You know what you're doing. You've got it. So our latest situation was the Huzzy School. And so we've had 2 at Huzzy. We've had 2 in this building. One was not a high school student or a high school staff member. The other one was related to the high school. So we have 2 buildings that have had 2. So if either of those 2 buildings gets a third one, we may get further guidance from the CDC about what that looks like, or what we may have to do or not do.
A third one overlapping?
Within
In the
time frame.
Yeah, so it's, what is it? Is
14 to 28 days.
Yeah, so it's like.
So even if it's an unrelated case.
Well, they have to check, they have to make sure.
Yeah.
So they may push us a little further with the guidelines so that they can. The thing that sharing this building causes is that we had a true middle school piece, but the middle school's housed in this building.
Yeah.
So it counts as Noble High School. And then we just had a Noble High School situation that counts as Noble High School. So we have 2 at the high school when 1 was a middle school. So hopefully if something happens, and hopefully it doesn't, but hopefully we'll be able to track that quickly so that, you know, they very clearly can see that it's not 2 at the high school.
Okay.
So that's that piece. We're in, like I said, I think we're in really good shape. What the feedback from families has been that when if we've had classrooms go remote, families are continuing to feel really comfortable with the lessons and the activities that the teachers are doing remotely with the students. And they're not missing a beat. Like the last one happened on the Sunday. That Monday morning, they were in their class meeting first thing in the morning, and they just carried it right through. So our staff is really prepared, and, you know, as I said, from everything from cafeteria, you know, seating charts, all the way to who's in a classroom, who's not in a classroom. As far as staff goes, I think everything has just been clockwork from that angle, from each and every school. It's been great. Really great, really great.
Right.
It stinks that we have to do it,
Right.
Yeah.
but it's been very smooth.
Right.
I'd like to say too, I want the teachers, especially the ones that have been teaching a long time, to know how much we appreciate how difficult this is for them, because it's a totally new, way to teach, and I think the stresses are higher than they've ever been. And I think we need to just be aware that this is probably a very difficult year for a lot of our teachers that have been teaching for a while.
Yeah.
The younger kids, the younger teachers, you know, technology, that's the second nature to them. But I think we need to be aware that it might be more difficult for some, and make sure we have supports in place to help them as much as possible.
Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do we have supports in place for sort of managing the stress of all of it for teachers?
We have, well, I think what you supported this summer for the Wednesdays has really been helpful as a moment just to take a breath and take some planning, and students are working more on some reinforcement skills and doing some independent work and reading. And I think that has really helped, even if it's for a team, just to kind of get together and look ahead a little bit at what they're doing, but also reflect back as a team on, what worked, or, what's challenging and things like that. So I think that.
So you feel like the Wednesday remote actually ended up?
I think it's helped. I certainly think it's helped. And then we got a lot of really good feedback from staff around the professional development that we did for them. And that was really targeted at staff, not as much, in the past we've done a lot on trauma with students.
Kids, right.
This was how to be the leader of a classroom or support in a classroom, and how to help, manage yourself going through all this. So, and I think the school counselors are there for students, but they're there for staff. And I think they've really done a great job checking in with staff, as has the administration.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
Anything else on that? We have a further discussion for talking a little bit about cases and the uptick in other business, but that's all I had right now for this particular part.
Do you have any idea where you are when it comes to the other districts in this?
Like the number of cases?
Yeah. Well, how are they in the county? Do you have any communication with the other superintendents?
I know, like Kittery, I think their numbers are even lower than ours. Yeah. They're smaller than we are.
Correct.
And maybe the superintendent's every Friday morning. So, yeah, I think we're sort of in that middle stage. Right. Certainly are in better shape than some of those around us. In terms of like just the numbers. Like Sanford got hit pretty hard and was in Massabesic's been hit a couple times.
And they're comparable size-wise to us.
Right. They've had closed schools, like full schools, and we've not had to do that. So far, so good. But I mean, it's still, there's no question that like we have these we dread Fridays to see who's like, if something's going to happen, it typically ends up on a Friday, or we're working on it over the weekend. So, and when we see Amy, who's the nurse, the director of student nursing, she comes in the door and we all go, did we ask you to come? Why are you here? So, right, because she gets the word first from the schools typically. So, the other part is like what's happening in the world is that testing is occurring, right? So for kids that are playing sports outside of school, hockey, things like that, they're being tested. And so that's where things are popping up that we may not have ever known.
And testing is not hard to get. It's easy, right. It's quick, it's a couple days, so yeah.
So those are things that are.
There's definitely been an increase in testing being done.
Yeah.
Which I think goes into line with our increase in numbers.
Of course, yeah.
Double-edged sword.
Yeah. One thing we are trying to really stress with families is that if you have a child that's been tested and you're awaiting results, not to send the student to school until you have results. So we've included that in our letter, and we're just going to make sure that we just push that through at each school level as well, because sometimes it's not the first thought that they may have. So we're just trying to put that as just keep them home until we're sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. So the other superintendent's report item is just an update on committees. So we have two coming up. So we have facilities and finance and the negotiations committee, and hoping to schedule those two committees the week after next, right? Next week?
Next week. I forget.
Next week.
It's next week if you did the facilities one.
Yeah. So Travis and Joanne, Thursday at 4.
I thought it was Saturday.
At 1:30.
changed
At
it.
1:30.
That actually would work better. for me.
I know.
Thursday I'm on shift.
Oh, are you?
But I will
Okay.
try and remote in.
Okay.
Are those going to be in person or remote?
I think we're gonna probably do, as many remote probably as possible, honestly, just because I think that's doable.
I can't be on the committee, but I would certainly love to
Okay.
sit in or
Sure.
just listen in, which
Okay.
if it was remote, I
Mhm.
could do that.
Okay.
So if I could just be on the list.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
it'll be
that-
remote, correct?
Remote.
Okay.
And that's just a first initial meeting. So we'll have the whole team. So we've got representation from administration at the high school, at the elementary school, and then the board. And Kevin will be there and Denise.
Who's taking your spot?
Tina Harding and Heather LaFrance are both attending for that. And then AJ Dufort from the high school.
You've taken Tyler's
Mhm.
I forgot about that.
And then negotiations, we have Linda, Rebecca, and then Nancy. You said that you would be.
Well, only if they didn't.
Okay.
So are you freeing yourself from it?
No, I will do it if they don't want to do it.
Okay.
Yeah, well, they have agreed to do it, so it's up to you. It's totally up to you. We would be happy to have you.
Right. So Linda and Rebecca, are you able to meet next Thursday at 5 remotely?
Yeah, that'd be okay for me. Next Thursday at 5.
Great.
Yep, just give me one. You're talking about November 12th?
Yes.
Yep. Yes, I can do November 12th.
Great. And those will be remote. That will be remote as well.
Okay.
And those are gonna be on Zoom because we're gonna invite Hamel to join us, and he's not a Googler, and neither are the teachers folks when we get to that place as well. So those will be Zoom meetings, and I'll send you an invitation to that.
Okay.
Super. Thank you. So those are the updates just from those two committees. Those two are coming up fast. So, good. So then the other business, can we jump to other business or does any?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Other business is Rochester, I'll give Rochester as an example and then give some other districts. Some schools, districts are thinking about closing either right after Thanksgiving for like even a week from because Thanksgiving's Thursday, maybe close for that whole following week. Others are talking about like Rochester, that's out now until Martin Luther King Day in January. So I just wanted to open it up for discussion here tonight about what your thoughts may be on that, on doing any kind of preventative or anticipatory closing, how that may look, or if we feel we want to trudge through and it will play out how it plays out. And there's pluses and minuses to both pieces, both things. Some of the rationale of closing that week after Thanksgiving is that buys you potentially the 3 weeks before December break.
Just would hate to be into the mode where, okay, we go remote 2 weeks, then we're back a week, then we're remote. Just pick one.
Yeah, right.
Pick one and stay with it,
Right.
I feel like if we could either choose to do it, I'm just looking at a calendar here, or we could come back in, but then if we got to a point where we had to go remote, then no, we wouldn't do it for 2 weeks. We would say, okay, say it's December 9th, we've got 4 cases that are whatever, and then we say, okay, at that point, we're done until, I don't know, maybe Martin Luther King is a good, because that's the 2 weeks after. Or we could just, my thought is I feel like we have pretty clear guidelines as far as when we do need to close, so like, my thought is to just kind of stick with what we're doing until we either by our own standards or by the state standards have to close. I don't know.
I think, I agree with Denise. I think we've done a great job so far this school year controlling everything that we can control. And it's worked fairly well so far. Yes, there's concerns that there's going to be some upticks. There's already upticks right now. And, you know, that could potentially grow. I think our system is working great. I think we should continue to follow our system. And when we get to that point of, okay, we've upticked, we need to think about starting to shut down, then I would agree. When we do that shutdown, that's when we need to look to see how far are we going to shut down for. Because I don't want to play the same game. I don't want to play this.
I don't think anyone wants to go back and forth.
So it's, you know, at this point in time, we're going to run into some concerns with the holidays.
Yeah.
If we get to the point where we got to shut down, then I say we would end up having to shut down, but then that's when we look at how long are we willing to shut down for.
Yeah, I agree. I think the consistency is really important for
Yeah.
families right now. And then they'll know that when we shut down, we're shutting down for a specific reason. You know, we have cases and that's why we're doing it. So I agree with Denise and Travis.
Anybody out there?
I agree as well.
So do I. I think consistency is important for mental health for everybody all the way around, the teachers, the parents, the students. We've been doing pretty well. We have a great plan in place. We should utilize it.
I don't think anybody is in denial that this very well may happen.
Yeah, exactly.
But the off
It could
chance,
happen tomorrow.
it could, but in the off chance that it doesn't, I feel like it's worth following our plan.
You agree?
Anybody else in remote land?
Do we have any input from the school administrators?
From what?
The school administrators. We have in the sense that they all feel that our plan is working well. We also know that child care at last minute and the fluctuation in and out is going to really be difficult.
Yes.
So we're gonna need to make, once we go out, we need to make a plan for the length of that, for sure.
Can we communicate in advance that the intent is to stick with our plan, but
Make a plan.
if we have to go remote, then it will be for an extended the holidays, so that it's not, it won't, like, keep that in mind, that if, I mean, is it possible, is that to kind of,
Well, I think we could, I think it would be nice to have something go out that says, hey, holidays are coming up, you know, our plan is working, let's not, for lack of a better word, screw it up. Because if we do, then we're potentially gonna have to be out for an extended period of time to get through the rest of the holidays.
And that might actually force parents to think, okay, maybe we need to
We need to stay home.
stay home and really pay attention to who comes over and what
Yeah, and you
happens.
keep it to the same plan that you've been hanging around
Right,
with, then,
exactly.
yeah,
you know, for the most part anyways.
It's when I think in Rochester, I heard from a parent that they was like blindsided. They heard Sunday afternoon that Monday schools were closed and
Yeah.
it was scrambling.
Yeah, I think that did happen relatively.
Right.
quickly.
That's very difficult for
Mhm.
families.
It is.
It
It
causes
is.
more stress than needed.
And we have to try and avoid that as much as we can. Now, we're not gonna be able to avoid it 100%. There's gonna be those situations where we're 9 o'clock at night, you know, we just got word, we're shutting down.
Right.
You know, unfortunately, you're gonna have to, and they have to understand that too, I know I do as a parent.
Just a heads up, I think.
Yeah, okay.
yeah, I think it's worth reminding parents where we are, and I do think that if we have to, right after Thanksgiving, if, you know, December 7th, we have to make the call, it's not gonna be for 2 weeks, it will be for longer. So to say, have your contingency plan, be working on your contingency plan for childcare.
I actually just got some public input, so I'll just read it to you.
Okay.
Because it says, if you take public input at the end of the board meeting, this is Kathy Sheedy in Berwick, I would just say that families should be given a heads up to start preparing for the probability that schools will need to shut down for a few weeks around the holidays. So I think that's conversations we can get out right away. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's totally appropriate.
Yeah.
Astrida, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
Nope, I just figured that the administrators would have a sense of, the flow of things in the buildings, and I agree that the plan is really working very well. Kudos on that. And I just wanted to make sure that we had all the information we needed. So, no, I'm good with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Lynn or Rebecca?
I agree with what everyone else has had to say. I don't see a point in closing down until there's a reason for it.
Thank you.
Yeah. It seems like it's been going okay so far. I was worried, but it seems like, it's just going to confuse the parent. It's hard enough for everybody to keep their schedule straight as it is. And now, just changing it for a week or so might make it worse. So I agree. Just go along with what we have now, unless there's an outbreak. So.
Okay,
All right.
that's what we'll do. Thank you.
I have another, if that was that the end of your others?
Yes.
I just wanted to share that I had heard from a few parents that were able to listen to the workshop, that the information was extremely helpful and well presented. And then I was also going to add that for myself as an other, which is just an additional thank you to the high school administration for running those surveys, pulling all of that data, and then presenting it in such a thorough way, and also being open-minded enough to really come up with a plan that sounds great. And I know that scheduling is not easy, but I also have a much better understanding of it now than I did before. So I wanted to say thank you, but also just to express that I have heard from a number of people that it was very helpful.
Good, great.
And I was going to echo what she just said, but I also wanted to just see if we had a status report of if we've had moved any progress with that, to see when we're going to implement that.
Sure.
Phase 2.
Right. So I know that there was the leadership team meeting earlier this week, and it was discussed at that point before they talk about it at the staff meeting, just as the first buffer to kind of just get a sense of how they were feeling. They all felt very good about it, felt very much like it was very doable for everybody to move ahead. So I think that timeline that Ally and AJ and Joe shared was coming, yes.
Which was the Thanksgiving thing?
Yeah.
And I mean, when do they have that staff meeting? Because it's moving pretty quick.
It is moving quickly.
We got to get it out to the parents to know that we're going to make a change.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, they have, actually their staff meeting is, I have it on my calendar, Monday at 1:00.
Perfect.
Yep.
And then I guess back to if we did, preparation for, if we did have to go remote, do we feel like we have a good enough handle on the technology right now that will be able to, we feel like we're in a good place of making that switch, or going to a good place?
When we get the Chromebooks, we'll be in a better spot.
And when do we think that is?
It's late November.
Yeah, so next week.
Late November?
No,
Mid.
mid. So hopefully next week, and I think that will be.
And how many is that?
That's
Probably, right?
a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know exact numbers. We can.
Chris, are you still on?
Chris, could you?
So that's what?
Lost him.
500, yeah.
Oh, 500?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
That's going to be used to cycle out some of the ones that we have now that are giving us problems, or they can be given to people that don't have them right now.
Right? Yes, for sure.
All right, any others? Okay. So can you just remind me, we don't adjourn?
So we're not gonna adjourn, you're gonna step out of out of the meeting, but we will say to the public that there will be no more public part of the meeting, so that we can close the live stream
Okay.
and then go into your executive session.
Are we doing the executive session in Google Hangouts?
We will be moving to a different Google Meets for
Right,
this executive
right.
session. So we're closing the meeting.
Right, so everybody on this remote has to go into the other one.
Who are-
The other
We don't
meeting.
have any other public comments, right?
Nope, that was the only other piece I had, which I shared with you. Let me check it one more time, hold on. Oh, public. Nope, nothing.
Great,
Okay,
all right,
all right.
thank you.
So, bye-bye.